Good morning, heart and soul. First off, thank you, Tammy. That was beautiful, beautiful. It took me somewhere. So I'm delighted to be here with you all this morning. I have such great respect and admiration for Reverend Andriette, Dr. Reverend Andriette. um, what I love about her is I love that she represents, that she represents God in such a wonderful and magnificent way. I love how she shows up in her boldness, her blackness, her brilliance, her love. I just love who she is. And I want you all to know that everything that she does it for you all. Maybe you don't know that. She does. So I'm honored to be here to stand in for her this morning to bring the message from Philadelphia. And at the Center of Peace, we've been working all year on what it means to live an prosperous and abundant life. And so I want to share with you all a little bit this morning what we've been talking about all year long. So one thing I like to do is I like to help get myself anchored and get us anchored for the message with the reading of some spiritual principles. And what I like to read from is what Ernest Holmes penned as What We Believe. So if you want to have in front of you what I have in front of me, just do a search online for Ernest Holmes and What We Believe. But at Center Peace, we call them spiritual principles and we have them numbered. So here are the principles to help get us anchored this morning. Spiritual principle number one, we believe in God, the living spirit, almighty one, indestructible, absolute, and self-existence cause. We believe that this one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. Spiritual principle number 10, we believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. Spiritual principle 11, we believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny. That means that we have something to do. And spiritual principle number 5, we believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. Simply put, what that principle states is that we believe in love. We believe in love. And so I want to start out with just sharing with you all the Center of Peace's vision. Our vision is a loving and peaceful world where all of humanity is honored as the divinity within is experienced. Few words, but it speaks to me in a bold way, because honoring someone is the act of placing yourself in someone else's shoes and seeing who they are, experiencing something more about them. And the vision also reminds me that in honoring all, I must honor myself. That honoring myself is important. And loving myself is honoring myself. Loving myself is honoring myself. In fact, it is love that allows us to see ourselves differently. And that's very important. That's very important to know as we are discovering and talking about what it means to live a prosperous and an abundant life. Our journey of coming to understand more about God, more about love, our journey of coming to relate to, that is having a relationship with God and having a relationship with ourselves, thus coming to rely upon that which we understand and relate to more than anything. That is living a prosperous and an abundant life. And so what we've come to know is that our work then is to tear down our resistance to truth so that we may come to know and accept the truth. The truth that is within us, the truth that is eternal. And Neville Goddard said that this truth will transform you. It will do what love does. It will allow us to begin to see ourselves differently. So we have to be willing then to examine what we believe and to discover, is what we believe the truth? Does what you believe set you free to be who you really and truly are? Does what you believe allow you to represent, to represent, to show up bold and audacious? Does what you believe allow you to be so fully expressed as your God self? Because if it doesn't, then you've got to change your story to speak the truth. Last week I reminded the congregation that in this teaching we talk a lot about change your thinking, change your life. Well, the thing is this: it's time that we stop talking about changing our thinking, and it's time that we got busy changing our thinking. And our theme this month is pointing us to this change that I'm talking about. This change that we all must go through to live a prosperous and abundant life. And this change that I'm talking about is just what I just shared with you, is changing our thinking. And change in general is hard. It's difficult. And changing our thinking is difficult too. So what we do then is we enter into examining what we believe with some skepticism. And that's okay, because skepticism, we need skepticism. I read this definition of skepticism and I want to share it with you. It says that skepticism is a virtue. Skepticism is godly. It requires a willingness to question conventional wisdom and the guts to accept something after we discover that it's actually true. What skepticism says is that once this and that has been proved, that we will accept the truth and do something with it. And the thing is, though, is that some people get skepticism and denial mixed up. They think that they are examining what they believe to get to the truth with a sense backed up by skepticism. And in fact, what many of us are doing is using skepticism as a coy for denial, when really what we are doing is denying the truth, because denying the truth is easy to do. Denying the truth lets you off the hook. Denying the truth is just a simple way to avoid change. So we are here, you and I, we are here to live a prosperous and abundant life. We are here to create a life that is fueled by our will to live. But here's the thing. Many of us are suffering in such a way that we no longer have the will to live. And I don't say this lightly. I've heard from uh, many people about their children, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 19-year-olds, who no longer have the will to live. I've heard this from others who are aged and fined and refined, that they no longer have the will to live. So I don't say this lightly. I'm saying it and bringing it to us this morning because that's the story that we have to change. Many of us are anxious and stressed, and we feel helpless and hopeless. Many of us feel stuck. Some of us are in the midst of addiction, numbing ourselves because we don't have the will to live, with few moments of relief. So the question is then, how did we get here? We got here mostly through the circumstances in our lives, the experiences in our lives that led us to no longer trusting. Those experiences where people did something to us, where we allowed people to do something to us, those situations and circumstances where we did something or didn't do something, any situation and circumstance that propelled you into a space of no longer trusting. Because when we get to this space, what we start to do is, instead of affirming who we are, and instead of engaging in discovering more of who we are, engaging in love, we are more engaged in self-condemnation rather than self-discovery. And the thing is that when we don't do anything about it, we become numb. We don't change our story. We don't change our thinking around this idea of not having a will to live. When we don't change that story, we become numb. And when we become numb, we don't experience pleasure. And when we don't experience much pleasure, we don't experience connection. And when we don't experience connection, then our relationship with God is called into question. What kind of relationship do you have with God? Do you have a relationship with God? When there's no connection, our relationship with ourselves are called into question. So at this point in time, here is where we start to feel alone in this big old world. Here is in our lives where we start to ask questions like, do I matter? I mean, would anyone notice if I wasn't here? Do I matter? And sometimes we even become resentful. And that's the story that we are stuck in. That's the story that we have to change. That's the thinking that we have to change. And if we are on the hook to let ourselves off the hook, and just so you know, we are on the hook to let ourselves off the hook, then this is the thinking, this is the story that we have to change. I matter. We have to start telling ourselves this story. You know, at the Center of Peace, when we are in person, I like to take a moment in the service for people to come together and greet each other. And what I always like to say is, listen, be sure that you look in your neighbor's eyes. Let them know that they are loved and that they matter. And on occasion, there are a few people who will come up to the stage and they'll hug me and they'll look me in my eye and they'll say, Reverend, you matter. And I have to admit that every time it happens, it feels like I'm being told that for the first time. It does something for me. It acts like love. It allows me to discover something more about myself. Because here's the thing is, I certainly know something about this story. I don't matter. Being a Black woman, a Black lesbian woman, happy Pride, who grew up down south, where the story, or the only story, was about sin. What I heard, whether or not they said it or not, was that what you're doing, your lifestyle, is not right. That's what I heard. What I heard is that while we will tolerate you, we will not acknowledge you. What I heard was, you don't matter. But thank God that love allows us to see ourselves differently. See, this is the thing. Coming to understand that we matters. And see, being the first in my immediate family, my brothers and sisters, my first cousins, my second cousins, being the first in my immediate family to have the honor and the privilege to serve as the senior minister in a church, at a center, it matters. Being the first woman in my family, in a family who is very religious, being the first woman to have the privilege and the honor to serve as a senior minister matters. Being the first to discover something more about myself through examining my beliefs and going up against conventional wisdom and coming to a point of accepting the truth, it matters. It mattered to my sister. It mattered to my cousins. It matters to so many friends who come to me for support, for counsel. It matters. Ernest Holmes says that no person has the will to live unless he feels that life is worth living. So here's the thing. If you've accepted someone else's story that you don't matter and made it your own story, if your story is based on negative instead of the positive, if your story is based on fear rather than faith, if your story is based on disappointment rather than fulfillment, if your story is based on self-condemnation rather than self-discovery, it's time for you to change your story. It's time for you to change your thinking. Changing our story and changing our thinking, it takes guts. It takes faith. It takes speaking the truth over and over again without exception and without fear, as Mahatma Gandhi reminds us, that we speak truth to ourselves without exception and without fear. But the thing is that before we change our story, we have to know what our story is. I wanted to share a little bit from Living the Science of Mind. It's one of Ernest Holmes' books. On page 4 or 8, he says this. He says that we know that the battle for the right to live happily through the will to live rightly is half won when we have correctly diagnosed the trouble. We have correctly diagnosed the story. We have correctly diagnosed our thinking. And he says, and if we have been walking down a road that leads nowhere, where the trails run out and stops, all we have to do is reverse our steps and remember that the power which took us down the wrong road can just as easily lead us back on the right road. He goes on to say that it takes less energy to live constructively than it does to live destructively. It takes no energy to have faith, while fear devastates such energy as we have. He says it takes no energy to love. It is hate that is destructive. It does not take mental or physical energy to be happy, but unhappiness and morbidity consume so much energy that it devitalizes us mentally and physically. It does not take mental or physical energy to build up hope. It is despair that blocks us. All it takes is faith. And finally, he says, we must decide that life is for us and not against us. Turning from everything that denies this, and turning from everything that denies this, take our journey. Excuse me, let me read that last part over. He says, we must decide that life is for us and not against us. And turning from everything that denies this takes our journey into the promised land. We must decide if life is for us and declare that life is for us, accept that life is for us and never against us. Yeah, because see, here's the thing. I could have kept on with the story that I don't matter. I could have just kept that story going on. And even now, when that story rears its head, I have to remember, and we have to remember, that life is for us and nothing is against us. We have to remember the principles. We believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny. We believe that we are individualizations of God, representations of all that God is. We have to start to remember that I am a unique and perfect expression of God. Like Dr. Michael Beckwith likes to say, I'm one of a kind, one of a kind. We have to start to remember that love allows me to see myself differently. So here's the thing. How do we develop the will to live? Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to accept the truth and stop denying the truth. Because when we deny the truth, there's no room for us to change our minds. When we deny the truth, there's no room for us to change our stories. So we have to accept the truth. And once we accept the truth, then we have to get busy changing our story. We have to get busy changing our mind. And once we do that, then we have to do something with what we've been given. In other words, we have to show up. We have to represent. Why? Because it matters. In other words, I like to say it like this. I have something to do with my love. I have something to do with my love. And that is to start loving me, honoring me, discovering something more about myself. Start accepting it as the very truth of my life. I have something to do with my love. Because when you start loving you, you invite others to love you. And inviting others in to love you is the grand invitation to trust. To trusting ourselves, to trusting life, to trusting God, to trusting others. I got something to do with my love. I have to show up in all of my uniqueness. I have to show up in all of my perfection. I have to show up and represent. And maybe, just maybe, it might matter to someone. I matter. You matter. It's time that we stop talking about changing our thinking and get busy changing our thinking. It's time that we stop talking about changing our life and get busy changing our life. It's time that we stop talking about changing our story and get busy changing our story. It's time that we show up and represent. It's time that we affirm, I am bold. I am audacious. I am Black. I am a lesbian. I am proud. I am first. I feel like this sometimes, and sometimes I feel like that. It's time for us to show up and represent, to say, I am love, and I have something to do with my love. You matter. You matter. And so it is. Yes. So let us take this moment then just to turn within, to become aware of a power and a presence that's never in absence. It is alive. It is everywhere. It is in the birds that we hear, the sun that we feel, the smell of the roses. It is alive. It's alive in me, and this power and this presence is alive in you. It is love. And I know that we could never be separate and apart from all that God is. We could never be separate and apart from love. Therefore, I speak my word for you, and I speak my word for me this morning, where I know that we come to love ourselves, that we set our minds on loving ourselves. I affirm and I know that all the universe conspires for our good, that as we love ourselves, we come to know that life can never be against us and always is for us. I know now this to be the truth for you and for me. So I know that each of us then just boldly change our stories. Each of us begin to speak the truth over and over and over again. I am loved and I matter. I am love and I matter. I am love and I matter. I am love and I matter. Until our skepticism turns into acceptance of the truth, that we come to discover something more about ourselves, that we allow love to show us more of who we really and truly are. This is my prayer for you, and this is my prayer for me. And I'm so grateful for this moment of pause to be able to come and to remind you of who you really and truly are, to remind you that you matter, to remind you that your being here matters, to remind you that there's an urge within you that's seeking to be expressed, to remind you that it might matter to someone else. I'm so grateful to be able to have this moment to remember this, to remind you to remember this. You are loved and you matter. I'm so moved in this moment then to just simply taking the words in, turning them over into the law of mind that I know is always responding to my highest thoughts, my heart's desire. I know now that it is acting upon the words that I just spoke. I am moved now into a great stance of acceptance, knowing that it is already done. I join you and coming together with me in agreement simply by saying, and so it is.
And so it is. Love matters.